Now, some good news about what happened today, of course, is that the borders opened in Queensland. Great stuff from Chris Kenny in his program. Remember, primetime starts at 5 each and every day here at Australian Eastern Daylight Time. My favourite image of the day thus far, and you know how much I love Queensland, can't stand their government, but how much I love Queensland was this bloke who was able to be reunited with his daughter and saw his grandson for the first time. Meantime, COVID restrictions have changed in places like New South Wales, where the Goldilocks book has been consulted, and now you can have as many as 50 people to a restaurant, and it was celebrated by the breaking of plates today. And even the Mad Emperor himself, Mark McGowan, has finally relented after 270-something days, after keeping families apart since February if they were FIFO workers. He will reopen the state in time for Christmas.
We can take this next step safely and cautiously thanks to the recent success of our friends over east.
What? But of course his contact tracing system virtually doesn't exist, the QR codes don't exist, so of course we're on a hair trigger. As soon as there is a dozen or so cases somewhere else, bang, up go the walls, but as long as everyone gets to see Christmas, then these leaders will of course be congratulated. But there is a group of Australians who are being ignored in all of the COVID politics, being ignored in all of the lessening of restrictions. You see, politically, they know that you can't keep people apart when it comes to Christmas, certainly families and mates. They know that they can't keep the borders up for people to go on their holidays. But there is a group of Australians, of whom I am not a member, but still is the vast majority of Australians who, well, don't really have that much support in the media. It's those who believe in God. Be it 52% of the country that believes in the Christian God, or the 8 and a bit that believe in other forms of God, by a margin of 2 to 1, Australians believe in religion. They believe in a higher power, and one of the ways that you show your faith is to go to a place of worship. Now, amazingly, despite the fact that in places like Queensland, where you've been able to have 50,000 people at a football match, or if you fly, as I did, from Sydney to Darwin, you can have a couple of hundred people on a plane together for 4 and a bit hours, like this. Thanks for the middle seat, by the way. But in church, they are limiting your numbers. To this very day, they are still limiting the types of people and the amount of people that can physically go into a church, physically go into a temple, physically go into a mosque, physically go to a prayer hall. Now, this is ridiculous. While, yes, many people who physically go to church might be older, or there are certainly older people when you go to your congregation, if coronavirus has effectively been killed off in Australia, and we supposedly have the contact tracing systems in states like New South Wales that can deal with 40 cases, why in New South Wales are we still playing by the rules as if the pandemic was still raging in Victoria and just around the corner when it comes to international arrivals? The opposition leader, Jodie McKay, is making some points about this today in Sydney, suggesting that there is a clear double standard, particularly when, for the 52% of Australians who are Christians, one of the 2 occasions that even the lapsed Christian may physically go to church is about to come up to celebrate the holy season that is the birth of Jesus Christ. Now, you know, I'm not a person of faith, but I am from a family of faith. And when the majority of Australians have a faith, and the virus has effectively been dealt with in Australia, and that is through good work, sometimes good management, but a lot of good luck, the joy that we've been able to be an island that can fence ourselves off from the rest of the world, the fact that we have a hotel quarantine system that works, asterisk, Victoria, means we've been able to keep the threat at bay. We have denied too many people for too long the basics, like being able to go to a funeral, like being able to have people at your wedding, like being able to be reunited with your grandchild, or just being able to go somewhere with your mates for a few days. But the idea that people will be denied the chance to physically go and recognise one of the 2 great holy days of the Christian faith, well, it tells us a lot about 2020. It tells us that the people who are of the 30%, the non-religious class, They either have outward contempt for the 60% of Australians who believe in a higher power, or they just don't care. Because they aren't the cool kids on Twitter. They aren't the people who take time to write newspaper articles or even waste a second talking about it on television. So yes, it's a bit odd that an atheist is championing the right of people to be able to go to a church, but that is first principles. The government should not be able to get between you and your family, and it has. It should not be able to get between you and your faith, and it has. All these rules need to go. We all get social distancing, we all get the hand washing. But the idea that getting together for 90 minutes to observe the birth of the Son of God, it seems a little over the top.